And it was a story at first. The story had nothing underneath it. There's also the Terminator clue. It's impossible to test. It's impossible to play. I was comfortable doing it all with one hand because I had a baby sitting in the other. Are they even out there in the last year or two then? It wouldn't be a granny. It would be a tank. I should have been there, fingers crossed. So I look at the progress bar, and then I look, they appeared in the first Witcher. So who else got a peek at who? Alexey, hi. Hello, Vladimir. As the author of the first mods of Pirates of the Caribbean, please tell us the story of how you started to create them. What were the challenges and how did you distribute your modified versions of the game to fans? The question is a good one, because initially I was just a player. I waited a very long time for this game here, and then, in the end, on the second day, I went and bought it, got it, everything, the cherish dish. I'm very happy with it there, but I played it, and it sort of worked. It kind of worked. It was also weird. Why was it Pirates of the Caribbean with a Pirates of the Caribbean sticker? So it didn't pass me by. Somehow the whole thing felt weird. Well, I ended up playing, got halfway through the game there, because something started to happen to me. I kinda wanted more. I used some forums, so Akella, there was a forum, Pirates Ahoy. There too, a fairly serious community. Then I look, they're doing some mods. I thought, oh, I also want to. Tried to build as they did according to the instructions, and something does not make sense. Nothing works. I have a folder with scripts, but nothing works. Then it turned out that our version is quite different from the Western one, as all this stuff is Star Force enclosed in Russia. The folder program, it is there with the scripts, but it is fake. In the end, get the whole folder from these mod makers. I spent some time there. I sat there comparing it, rolled it. I got it all in English. Then, so I partially moved back that folder, which was Russian. In general, I assembled and launched it. The mods began to appear. Everything sort of worked. And then I shared it with someone. I ended up on The People, created a website, made a design in the form of a menu from the game. That is, I just sketched it out and put it together to make it look like that. And that's where it all appeared. And the links went on the forums. There was also a forum for that game. It was called potc.ru, just like Pirates of the Caribbean. That's where all that stuff was happening. In fact, that's where the add-on was created. The administrator gave us a closed resource for the community. Well, that is, the community was right there. Originally, all the mods were made for my beloved. That is, so that I, as a player, could more comfortably play with it all myself. And then, somewhere in August, if it started as soon as I got the game in my hands, based on those modifications, it was in August that I was on holiday. I sat back then, had a lot of fun, so I played the game out loud. I had actually already finished it. I faced the fact that some mods did not work because it was necessary to start a new game. At that point, I was not ready to rerun the whole thing. That's it. And at that point, there was V1 mod, V2 mod, and V3 mod. Which here, V3 mod, it's been like a patch on the Pirates of the Caribbean disc. And it's been spreading for a very long time. It's actually on torrents. Here and then, sometime later, I passed the game. I kind of calmed down after that. I have this site on which this mod V3 lay. On the basis of it appeared on an online community. Someone was trying to do something of their own. Morgan appeared. We then somehow cooperated with him. Corsairs A&M started to appear. Because I'd already finished the game and it was interesting to do something on my own, and the community was getting bigger and bigger, A&M became such a serious add-on. At first we'd been working on it privately for 3 to 4 months, and then it became independent. And even Egromania started to publish it on CDs. That's how it even got on the discs as a distribution. Otherwise, it was a website, a subforum. At some point, we were kicked out of there. It was already in 2005, that is to say, Seaward was created as a separate resource in about 2005. But as a domain, I bought it after the add-on was released a few years ago. As far as I remember, narod.ru had a limit of 100 megabytes, and it turns out that this version of the add-on was up to 100 megabytes. Or did you have to divide it somehow between different repositories? No, it was in the 100 megabyte range quite well. It generally sort of fit in there normally. Initially, it was scripts and small resources like that. Well, retextures and so on. That is, it all weighed quite a bit. Not only that, at the time, 100 megabytes was just, something out of bounds. I didn't even have a modern internet. I had a mobile GPRS internet, and 100 megabytes was just something out of the question. It was unreal to download anything, by the way. It was also very difficult to download anything. That mobile internet, you had to keep your fingers crossed there, so you had to look at the progress bar. A lot of people don't understand how it all works now. The whole add-on, in general, the whole thing weighs less than 150 to 60, I guess. Here, that was enough of a limit. When we started doing the Sea Legend is Back add-on, in earnest, the limit was serious. They're zipped resource files. They weighed 700 megabytes at some point. If they are with retextured cities, even more. That is, if the folder with the game could fit on a 700 megabyte disk. I think it was all something in the region of 4 gigabytes. I mean, it would unzip it and it would fit right in. But with all these mods, add-ons, and so on, it all started to weigh, well, decently more. That is, plus 1.5 gigs. It did, and in connection with that. So I wrote a program in Delphi, which took copy the models that really weigh a lot, and rewrote their texture to the one I wanted by bytes. You are a programmer by profession, no? Because you talk as if you understand programming very well. You know a lot of things. Because of that, you are able to, in fact, implement the add-on. Well, it's clear, yes, that of course, let's say I'm not called a programmer now, sort of. There, the evolution of careers, it's different. I'm more of a consultant now, but at that time, yes, I was a programmer. I wasn't working in pure C or C++. I was working in other systems. Well, in Delphi, I had no problem writing the programs I needed. They're in different languages. Corsairs A&M is the project that you started with Morgan, and then you went your separate ways. Why did this happen, and what, I wonder, did Morgan do next? Yes, so there was quite a fruitful collaboration at first. There was a very serious version of Corsairs A&M. There, the main problem for all modders is to see the game through to the end and release it as a whole. At that time, I was involved in software professionally, and I kind of understood. I didn't know such words as angle, delivery, some kind of sprints, but in the sense, we were doing it all that. I don't read books about it, like this whole mythology that's used in the product after all the revisions. It has to be complete, and we had the delivery at about 2 weeks when the release came out. It was very hard to maintain it in a coherent state. If there were any shakeups and rampant fights or fancy bugs, it added a lot to it. That is, I was engaged in merging the code. First of all, there were 2 of us who were coding. Yes, but later it could be a rather large team. That is, let's say 5 to 6 people could code, and I would merge all their scripts. I have it as a professional thing because I know how to do it. In my impish system I was merging to, and in charge of how to merge a few people's development. Here, and that's where the problem started. We couldn't agree on what to touch and what not to touch. And there were some moments, I don't remember it now, there was a storm in a cup, some emotions, and I was going through something. I must have calmed down now, and I don't even remember all the bad things. I only remember good things, right? Well, at some point there had to be a falling out, so he went his own way, making the game the way he sees it, just Morgan. He's an artist, really. He's not a professional developer. And discovering scripting code is what made him a good programmer. As it is, he was retexturing in the beginning, and in general, he drew well there. Here, but when he started coding, he got good at it, and he had great ideas, and like this too, in the beginning, was included in an add-on. After that, at some moment, the version became unworkable, and we stopped gluing this code. I couldn't put it in simply because it wasn't working, as if seriously doing such a project, it's very difficult to bring it to an end. If you take a big swing there, actually, the example is not just Morgan. The example is just New Horizons. It's the Pirates Ahoy, the Western community. They never got around to it. They had a build there that included my mods. We didn't really have any special tools. And this toolkit, it was made by Western players. And thanks to them, their community is probably more powerful than our modding community. But ours, represented by myself and the team, yes, brought some things to their senses and made the release. And even made friends with Akella, but it's also in Russia. We're in Russia. It was somehow easier for us. They never did, although they're still trying to translate it all into Unity. The community of the game is serious, and it, there, is already 20 years old. Yes, like back in the first Sea Dogs. I just took advantage of some aces in my imagination and my competence to, most importantly, make some kind of coherent project. It is the integrity that is needed to get to the release. That is, you don't have to chase some super ideal, but let's make it bigger. No, that's unnecessary. I was once presented with it by a classmate when he found out there was a release. If you can see here. Yes, you can see. You can see. It says, and that's where it all started, keep it forever. It's a Sea Legends CD. It was licensed, in a box, with the book. I took it from him to play a game like this when I was a student. I almost failed the session because of it. Well, I did alright in the end. It all turned out well. It's just this game. Of course, it's imprinted on me. That's why I didn't even start with Pirates and Sid Meier, I guess. But with Sea Legends? Why Sea Legend is back? Why Sea Dogs? Well, Sea Legend is back is considered by CIS users to be the true version of Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think deservedly so. And I wonder, how did the partnership with Akella work out? And did it work out? And how was the interaction with the official representative and the official game conducted in general? The add-on itself. It took quite a long time to develop. That is, if it came out in 2004, then probably the whole 2004, whole 2005, it all went on until the beginning of 2006. When Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales came out at the end of 2005, I think, the community in the add-on was already quite strong. So the add-on team, as they call it, is pretty big too. That is, there could have been 20, 25 people there. There were enterprising guys who, first of all, also did the scripts and changed the balance. Most importantly, quests began to be written. That is, Sea Legend is back. These quest legends are the script by Edward Zaitsev, aka Eddie. He ended up coding them himself. I did some quests. Here's Isabella. I wrote the script and, well, I mostly dealt more with generators so that the game was alive for the user. I mean, a lot of players would then write, "Wow, it's right there. It's right there." And I understand that there are some forums under the bonnet, right? And I kind of find it funny how they perceive all these NPCs really as living characters. And there's a certain trick to that, the way games are made, and knowing that it's really hard to play something afterwards. I mean, it's cyberpunk, right? Fancy. I understand what's under the bonnet, but still, like, the guys are good. The way they've done it, and they're good at it. By the way, also with this kind of fun, the mini games. Whereas originally in Sea Dogs it was text, simple dialogue. Let's roll the dice. I got there 6 + 6. I won, didn't I? And you got like 2 and 4. You lose. That's it. So I made this mini game. It was just amazing to me that on interfaces, I mean on, how shall I say, on a 2D interface engine, it turns out you can make mini games. How amazing was that? I mean, I just, even for the sake of interest, I don't remember how many evenings or weeks it was, made this game. There's a basic logic to it. It's how the dice are played, right? So that it's there. Well, a little artificial intelligence has decided how to roll it all. There you go. And the funny thing is here, is that it didn't look up all the dice and like, from my own memory, I did it. Well, because pirate dice, right? The rules are known, poker, joker on dice. And then I see they appeared in The Witcher, The Witcher came out later than the add-ons. The dice came out earlier than they appeared in The Witcher. And then they went to the second round with the dice. So the first one. So who peaked at who? So how did the partnership with Akella eventually start? Ah yes, I got carried away. So in the story, when Edward Zaitsev came along, he was so keen on it all, and he had this idea that, well, he and I discussed, and he said, let's try it. Why are we beating around the bush? Let's move this engine to Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. Well, not like that. Their arc first, not even on Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. Let's have a chat with Akella. And so he spoke with Dmitry Arhipov. I found contact and we went there. Before that, there was no talk about Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. We said, but maybe we'll release this add-on? We still have a lot of ideas there. I just wish we could release it on CDs officially. Here, to which Dmitry responded, no, first of all, Corsairs 2. And then these Pirates of the Caribbean. These are not even Akella's copyrights. It's their Disney, back and forth. There's a whole system. So with the publisher, you can't even take art and resources from there. Why don't you guys take Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales? It's completely our project. And finalize it all. There you go. Well, that's what we thought. Well, come on. Yeah. And why not? Well, the art was really different in terms of the quality of the urban models. At least Pirates of the Caribbean than the Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. There we really had to redraw everything, and how should I say, the price quality of models. They sagged, and we had already signed the contract officially, as it were. And we had a deadline of December. But taking into account that we started doing it in February or March, the deadline was kind of realistic. But we already had everything, right? Add on to postpone. But at the same time, we wanted to make the lines that were on paper a line of quests, all a more coherent game. That's it. Well, the problems with the transfer were serious. Very serious. I mean, it's not that simple. Here's a question. Secondly, the Sea Dogs weren't real islands, but in your add-on, it turns out they were real ones. Where did you get them from? I mean, were they already in the game before that? No, it's a map like in Sea Legend is back was made for Sea Dogs. Return of the Legend, and the quality. I mean, the moderators? A map was being made. Did the moderators do this completely from scratch? It turns out the map? We did our own map, yes. There was one in the team who could do these models. I mean, he didn't do the scripts. There was a division at all, by the way, Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. It crashed very often in the original, sort of version. We were tweaking all that very seriously, and when we signed the contract, we were given the source code from the kernel. And I remember spending a lot of time on kernel level to put all sorts of patches, memory leaks there. There was also some problems with sound. So, do I understand correctly that mods for Pirates of the Caribbean was a fan experience when you did it completely on your own without any cooperation with Akella? Your first official collaboration came with the release of Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales and the transfer of your add-on to the Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales? Yes, that's right. We were given some utility kits at the time. We were supported. They're part of the Sea Dogs team at the time. We're not thirds. And Dead Man's Chest was kind of helping us out a lot. The same Ursus Jura, right? Here he is, as it were. He himself is from Akella. His previous interview was just recently, and he has his own side of the story of his development.
And I, from the moderator side, the moderator community.
So, yes, it's easier for us there. First of all, I found out that there was some kind of built-in 2D editor. If I pressed any key combinations, I could see the coordinates of the controls. This made the work so much easier that after I plowed through all the interfaces, I plowed through more than 30 interfaces. And by the way, they still have all these interfaces, despite the fact that the game has gone on and Age of Pirates 2, City of Abandoned Ships, and now Sea Dogs. The interfaces are all there. I mean, they're not really being changed anymore, as it is. You can't do any better than that, apparently. And from a financial point of view, it turns out that during the development of Pirates of the Caribbean mod, that is, you had a full-time job and were not paid in any way? Was it purely fan work like that? No, when I made add-on, that is, not add-on, and when the game was made, I still always had a job. That is, I could not afford to switch there fully. Although here, Eddie, by the way, took a chance and switched. That's why he dived in there with his head. I was there. Like, yes, I took a special vacation, even somewhere at my own expense. I took a vacation to survive all these terms, which in the end, we did not fit in for a couple of months. It was released in early February, I think, in 2007, although they wanted it in December, and we really had the game. Well, it was ready in December, but we didn't pass the ATC. Already inside Akella, there were some comments, and we had to eliminate it. And somewhere in early January, we eliminated them. And then there was a month left on the master disc. And so, in early February, this game came out, and there were separate adventures with the development. If we did Sea Legend is Back, it was fun, and nobody stood there and kicked. I could sit with my pleasure, there, yes, on Friday night, there, with a beer, there, sit with my laptop, and there, in the kitchen. First, the so-called feature cutting was needed, right? That is, we wanted, for example, much more than we could manage. Actually, that is why Age of Pirates 2, City of Abandoned Ships then appeared. Some ideas were finally implemented, but the game was complete. That is, Sea Dogs Return of the Legend is quite a complete game, and in fencing, it is probably more balanced to my taste due to animation than the following versions. Because the animation, it is, how should I say, it is shorter, maybe it is more clumsy. Well, there it is from the point of fencing that all these things are very clearly displayed. And you, by the way, were the person who added acceleration. I understand 2 times was immediately there. That's how it all started. I actually went on. This is the code that probably made this whole story a reality. Because I realized that I can't do that in real time. I'm like, I have a job, I'm busy, I want to play. Well, damn, swim somewhere out there, right? Perform the maneuver in real time for 20 minutes. I just don't play games like that right now. That is, if there is something you cannot do, well, as it were, then the game is not for me. That's it. And then, well, how so? This is the Sea Dogs. They're this, and I look, oh, yes, this is one of the first mods. The mod is not mine. That is, in fact, I didn't do that. I found it. I don't remember the name of this fellow Western mod maker. It was he who did that. I even left it in the scripts whose mod it was. Left nicknames. There. If it's mine, it's signed. And if not, then it's, well, signed by someone. That is, all the mods, they are well with copywriters, relatively speaking, but here it was just not embedded. That is why I had to adapt all these scripts to make it work. In the end, you mentioned such a moment that you agreed with the release for December, and as a result, you were finalizing it for a few more months. I wonder, what conditions did you have then? That is, you had a fixed price, and then in January, February, you worked there at your own expense? Or did you have a percentage of the sales? What was the scheme of agreement with the moderators of Akella? Quite serious risks, including their conditional apartments, were at stake. Because if it all didn't work out and there was a fuck-up and we left in the dawn, then it there was already, well, motivation, such a financial interest, such a funky enough for us, that is. There was funding, because there you had to take something for freelancing, buy some art and something else. Naturally, the money was given, as it were, on credit to the company Akella. After that, they fought off royalties from this percentage. The percentage was typical for them, as it were, for such projects. Well, it was really small, after all, as if for the money it was not super profitable. And I kept working. Like background, right? Although I took a vacation somewhere. It was a commercial product. A project, but not even for everyone. That is, many still did it on the fan, and in general, nowhere, and did not earn much. We then put down, conditionally, when everyone gathered at the end of October, that is, and no more than that. I mean, people there just like to do that and see it through to the end. In general, just get the discs, right? With recordings, participate in the same. Already, it was still a certain fun. That is, it was not done for the sake of money, just due to the fact that there was coverage. But there was no Steam, right? We did not go into such logistics. Normally, we could only reach the people through discs, and it seemed to us that we had spent so many years. Let's finish it all up before the release. How was Seaward created? Because we here say, people did this particular add-on, did that add-on. Someone got the money, someone didn't. Was it a legal entity? Or was it just a community of people who just registered on the forum? How did you get an idea to create? Why such a name and such a logo? This is the community of the people who've registered on the forum. Initially, we were like orphans on someone else's forums. Then there was Askold, who sheltered us. He had a hosting service and a domain, kirk.ru I think it was called, and we lived on it. There was an addon.kirk.ru, some there, and at some point, he left the team and he could first provide us with hosting. And I was administering it. Then he runs out of hosting and says, well, listen, let's make your own. And so really it was just, well, I started sorting through. Yeah, POTC, already occupied. In general, sea dogs are somehow also unclear. Why Seaward? Seaward. This is, in principle, such in the direction of the sea. Clearly, straight, thematic, everything, right? The domain is free. I'm regaining it quickly. And now, after that, here's this forum. It's been living for 15 years now with its own community. So it all stayed that way. And it was all legally formalized relations. Just under the contract with Akella. They did not start to communicate with the unclear people. It was not clear how to pay the salary. Therefore, the studio appeared as a legal entity. But like the site, namely seaward.ru, it is, after all, a website. Well, in the community respectively, it is different. That is, there were a lot of people there, up to 5,000 I think, the attendance reached, and real people. In the community and the main veterans, it was somewhat 600 people. Of these, at different times, the add-on team included not 100, but about 50 to 60 people probably. There was such a backbone. 25 people, 20 or so exactly. It was very difficult for us to test it. When we started doing it, the deadlines were very tight. I mean, how? Here, take Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales. Generally imagine the format, right? There's some kind of world, some heroes, some islands. And the map wasn't real, was it? There, some cities, that is. We had it at the level of schemes. Moreover, the Sea Legend is back and the schemes were incompatible with the new game, because we added Maine. That is, the cards are incompatible there, and by the way, on the engine Pirates of the Caribbean, it was not possible to do it fully. It's an island system, isn't it? We added Jamaica, Cuba, that's it, but their main was in the form of islands anyway. That is, there's a piece of land. This big continent didn't work out, and in Age of Pirates Caribbean Tales, we managed to make most of South America. And, as it were, the game, here, because this square of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers. The geography is broken, of course, and the islands are not all there. Left some selected, that is, well, after all, it's based on reality. Well, Cuba's there, Caraco's there, everything is in place there. Still, these are slightly filtered things. And when we put it all in the game, we had it to the level of schemes at first. It didn't fit right in there. It's impossible to test it. It's impossible to play. And some things we develop, it needs to be tested. I had to write a lot of clean ones. Here is this panel. F11. Yes, just here. You start the game, and, for example, does not immediately start at the beginning, and there, load some location, and there's some kind of quest situation is being built. The locations themselves were almost black and white. Our ATC team just threw up, or did not understand what it was. They had to be explained how it is there in the models you need to build light. It is made by baking method. It is different for every watch. It was necessary to put the sun in a certain place and do, therefore, a bunch of button combinations. There, right in the game. The engine is built in. It recorded these calls in the form of files. After that, it was already painted as we see it right now in the game, right? There, normal shadows, colors, and so on. And so it's all some kind of gray or overexposed, that is, the grass. It is almost white. And baking, well, it's going on long enough. I mean, how would it be? Not possible in real time. The game did not pull it at all. That is, it was necessary to test it all when collected. The game is normal, just if only by December, probably began to take shape. When we collected all this, when everything here became colored, when all that stopped falling out, finally, some started already balancing. In general, it was a very interesting thing, of course, but it was quite difficult for the nerves. Again, some disputes were already beginning on the design, but what next and how to do something. And I just probably already mentally tired and wanted the history with Morgan to repeat. And then I already, as it were, also took a break. So I somehow fell out of the clip. As a result, I then participated in the City of Abandoned Ships when we did the Western release. There it was necessary to raise all the tags in the code and with the scripts there. It was quite a serious problem to translate Russian into English. I was there, as it were, actively involved in all this. Basically, that is. I didn't work much on the quests. I then released a hardcore edition patch for Sea Dog's Return of the Legend, and it was then adapted for City of Abandoned Ships. These are some of the developments that I had. Such, well as the ideas, right? This, the mines made, can be dropped. There are a lot of Easter things in the Sea Legend is back. Also a separate topic. There are still legends. These are the Donkey there. Donkey is a model of Danielle from the Pirates of the Caribbean. There are 3 of them as officers. These are some of the best quest officers you can hire, and there are certain conditions under which they can be turned into a monkey. A skeleton monkey. It's really everything coded, that is, there is. I won't call you what right now. It is there somewhere written in our forum how to do this. The people have already guessed. Well, there is, I mean the whole system. And it was first a bike. The bike had nothing under it, except that, as it were, the players thought it was, right? As a result, I then summed up the real basis for this bike and programmed it all in the code. There is, of course, an Easter thing with the Terminator. Whoever found it knows. This is when the Black Pearl, or the Flying Dutchman, in the Sea Dog's Return to the Legend, it is also there. The Quest Monkey, by the way, is not in the Easter Sea Dog's Return to the Legend, and the Terminator is there. This is when the Flying Dutchman drowns, and it means you can get a shotgun. That is, you can find a Terminator that was turned at the wrong time. Well, they turned there. A well-known movie is right now shot. Another one was Schwarzenegger, right? There too, they missed and threw at the wrong place. Why not throw him like back in the 17th century? That is, and you can take away a shotgun from him. I was already surprised by the fandom when I saw this shotgun in the list of weapons. I couldn't understand what it was doing there. Now it is clear. There was even a team boy. Quite powerful, by the way, turned out to be the enemy. Try knock him down, that is, and a shotgun can be taken from his corpse. The logo. Tell us how you came up with the logo. This is my avatar, which was from the forum Akella, from the forum POTC. It was originally a Kinder Surprise pirate. He was sitting on, so, well, the toy was in Kinder Surprise. Pirate parrots. Here, I really like birds. I mean, I always had parrots that were blue, pale blue, and when I saw this, it was a pirate. I liked it very much, that is, and it was my logo. The avatar is more accurate, and when it became a question that it is necessary to go to the level of just as a logo, my father-in-law drew it for me. I said, "Here, we need a pirate like this one, a pirate parrot." Well, there are copyrights at Kinder Surprise, of course, and it can't be. You need a unique picture, that is. He drew it all somewhere there for half a day, with different sketches. I even have a paper version of this one somewhere. I scanned it for our artist. Campus was engaged in 2D. He somehow converted it into a digital form. When colored, that is, it was originally a pencil drawing. He converted it and got this logo here. Well, then the background appeared with the frame, and so initially it was just here. I have it right now as an avatar used on the Seaward forum. got to the point where you were telling stories, I just wanted to ask at the beginning how Seaward was formed and who are these people that you decided to leave Seaward, and as I understand it, go on with your project. Can you explain how it happened and what you did after you decided not to continue working for Seaward? Well, I could not leave Seaward because, it's my site. It's still mine. That is, I pay for it, prolong it, host it, and so on. But I stopped working on this project. I was just very, very tired. In fact, when this whole project was going on, the release one, it went on rather nervously. At that time, my father died, and I had a child. That is, there was such internal, already family things. In many ways, the development was, to the detriment of health, so to speak. That is, I held the child in one hand, and with the second, coded something. Actually, that's why, here's one of the stories, yes? The control is so strange by default in the game. Instead of the usual, rider, yes, there goes forward with the right mouse because everything can be done with one hand. When I tested it, it was convenient for me to do it all with one hand, because my child was sitting in the other. That is, it stayed that way. In general, it was originally in some games, in such a way I think in the same Sea Dogs, by default it was so. But in the third, it was transferred like this. That's all. Here, and I'm burned out. Actually, it seemed to me that I simply couldn't combine. Plus, I also had some tasks at work. It was very hard to pay so much attention, and I decided to take a break, that is. And then I continued to do so. And I even worked part-time at Akella for a while. I was engaged in the pre-production of the project Disciples Online. While just here, actually due to maybe my design, there is a whole bundle of documents, over 100 pages they were so developed. And at the moment, Akella supervised Disciples 3. And they wanted to make a browser game. It was in fashion in 2008. All these browser games. That is, and they so developed this project. Then it was sold to some company. I don't know, sold, given, there, for sale, and so on. But there I was longer able to do this fully, because it was necessary to go there full time. And I went on to my ERP and also changed the job already as a serious project. I could no longer do games at all at this time. I had my own company there, so it was necessary to support it there. It was very hard. That's it. I wasn't doing games at this time. That's it. There were a few more offers when I took part in some pre-productions and some MMO projects. So it was interesting. Then I tried to do my own browser project, and I was doing background work there. They are ready-made on some 2D art such as Strategic Engine, Tactical and Strategy Sea Battle. Then I tried to port it to Android, but it's hard. It is necessary to fully make such games. Multi-level. It's not that simple. I've frozen it till the better times. Let's say so. Right now, I, here again, as a copy, continue now with my son, who is quietly growing with me at the time. Time has passed and he is right now. We'll be working on Unity together and maybe we'll be doing some mini-games. By the way, on behalf of Seaward, there's a game in Google Play. This is the ABC for Kids, Talking Alphabet. I made it exclusively for my children, and I just put it there. It is so that, the children of my friends and my children grew up on this thing, learning just the letters, how to pronounce it all, that is. So there's even a game from Seaward in Google Play already mobile. I will add the link to the description. I was interested in making it paid, because if it is free, of course, it will be put there by millions, and make no sense at all, and adults will also buy it for children. I won't say that I've gotten really rich there, but let's say it even paid for the efforts that were made. I mean, I expected it to be worse. It was so good at making money the first year. Right now it is already kind of uninteresting people, probably. Right now newer such programs have appeared, but when I did it, there were simply no such programs. What do you say about our project? What do you think? Does it have a future, and will you play it on the computer? Save the Pirate? I liked it. I liked the graphical presentation of this one. Very cute pirate, very cute art. This art has quite a lot of potential. I would even not mind such art in the full-fledged Sea Dogs, relatively speaking, to play and even participate in their development, because you can just make such a game due to the fact that it is more lifting. There will be no complex models, which are developed for 2 weeks each. You don't need 100 of them here. You can do something repeatable, something like Heroes of Magic and Sword. Something of such a plan, the world, that is. All the same, it is done in more real time than... And the team is smaller than that of modern 3D games, that is. The game is interesting. I don't very much like casual games themselves here. That's exactly the plan. Just one big button and I don't play them. but this particular one is due to the theme. I liked it. Seaward. These are the people who actually created the story, and I'm very grateful to you as the fan of the series. Thank you for the interview. It was interesting for me to remember too, and maybe something else. Some other things were left behind. Well, like later. Ask questions to Alexey in the comments. Bye everyone, and see you in the next view. Yes, bye everyone. And so, the second interview has come to an end. If you liked it, put a like and share your impressions in the comments. We've already shot the material for the next 3 videos. Put the bell in order to not miss them.